Welcome to another episode of the Midnight Investigator, where we take another alternative look at moments in history. Tonight's case file: Fatima, Portugal, 1917. Three seemingly innocent shepherd children claimed they saw a lady brighter than the sun. Rumors spread, then multiplied, until it became one of the largest mass-reported supernatural events of the 20th century. Tonight, we examine the story and ask one simple question. Was this divine intervention, or is there more here than meets the eye? This is the investigation into the miracle of the sun. The date is Sunday, May 13, 1917. The location: Cova da Area, near Fatima, Portugal. Around midday, three shepherd children grazing their sheep report a sudden flash of light. They claim a lady appeared near a small oak tree. She urged them to pray the rosary daily for peace, spoke of the ongoing war, and told them to return to that same spot on the 13th day of each month. As the visits continued, the children said they were given 3 secrets. The third part would remain sealed for decades, only released to the public in the year 2000. Month by month, the crowds grew, until everything culminated on October 13, 1917, during the mass-attended event now known as the Miracle of the Sun. So let's investigate. At the center of our story are 3 children: Lucia dos Santos, age 10, the main spokesperson who reports speaking directly with the apparition; her cousin Francisco Mardo, age 9, who was present but often described as quieter; and his sister Jacinta Mardo, age 7, whose excitement helped the story spread quickly through their village. Beyond the children, the case pulled in the entire community. Families and neighbors were split between belief, ridicule, and a desperate wish that the children would just stop talking. Local clergy found themselves as gatekeepers, weighing devotion against imagination. And as crowds began to gather, local authorities stepped in, treating it as a public order issue. The official narrative is that the children encountered the Virgin Mary, receiving a message of prayer, penance, and peace, along with the promise of a public sign so that all may believe. But the church didn't endorse the claim immediately. It wasn't until October 1930, after a formal commission of investigation, that the Bishop of Leiria declared the apparitions worthy of belief. To understand this event, we have to understand Portugal in 1917. It was a tense, unstable place. The monarchy had fallen, and the new First Republic was riddled with unrest and pursuing a strong anti-clerical agenda. The First World War intensified the strain, bringing shortages and social pressure. By 1917, the country was at a breaking point. Fatima unfolds at a moment when Portugal was under immense stress, and the church was politically on the back foot. Let's take another look at the 3 main witnesses. By the shrine of Fatima's own account, they came from a modest rural hamlet with little formal education. They were unable to read or write, their world limited to family, fields, and tending sheep. Their upbringing was simple and deeply Catholic. Lucia's mother taught catechism, a method of religious instruction usually arranged in the form of questions and answers aimed at teaching the young. And Lucia, as the eldest, taught her younger cousins the prayers and Bible stories she'd learned at home. Later in life, Lucia will become a Carmelite nun, living to an old age and dying in 2005. Her cousins, Francisco and Jacinta, both died young in the influenza pandemic that swept Europe. By August 1917, the situation had escalated so much that the local administrator detained and interrogated the children, trying to force them to reveal their secret. These were ordinary rural children, yet their claims drew increasing attention, pressure, and serious consequences. The main event took place on Sunday, October 13, 1917. Crowd estimates are commonly put at around 70,000 people. Accounts describe hours of waiting in the cold rain, the ground turned to mud. After the children's reported encounter with the lady, Lucia called for people to look at the sun. What follows is described in broadly consistent themes but not identical detail: the clouds part. The sun appears as an unusually dull or opaque disk that can be stared at directly. It seems to spin, tremble, or dance like a wheel of fire. Colored light is reported washing over the landscape and the crowd. Some accounts describe a zigzag motion or the sun seeming to plummet toward the earth, causing widespread panic. The event is said to have lasted for about 10 minutes. Not everyone saw the same thing. Some saw movement, some saw colors, and some reported nothing unusual at all. But the story quickly spread beyond the field. It was covered by the press. One of the best-known reports is by Avelino de Almeida in the Lisbon newspaper O Século. He describes the sun as an opaque silver disk that appeared to dance, while also noting that not all witnesses describe the phenomenon exactly the same way. So what do modern scientists and skeptics make of it? Can science explain the reports? The key forensic approach is not to call witnesses liars, but to ask what conditions could make ordinary people describe something so extraordinary. One explanation is meteorology. Thin clouds, haze, and shifting moisture can turn the sun into a dull disk and change its appearance minute by minute. Another is atmospheric optics, like sundogs, where ice crystals in high-level haze create glare and strange color effects around the sun. Then there's human vision. Staring at the sun, even through cloud, can trigger afterimages, color cycling, and the illusion of movement. Finally, there's the crowd factor. Tens of thousands of people reacting together can amplify expectation, shape attention, and lock memories into a shared peak moment. These effects can stack, producing descriptions that overlap but don't perfectly align without requiring any fraud. And yet, even with plausible scientific mechanisms on the table, one question keeps the case alive. How did three largely uneducated shepherd children draw a crowd to a specific place, on a specific date, expecting a sign, and then have thousands report that something unusual happened? There are plenty of photographs from the time showing the large crowd looking up to the sky. So there is no disputing that this event actually took place. So, okay, we have three seemingly uneducated children, certainly with no degree of knowledge about weather anomalies, predicting the exact time and place of an atmospheric event. But there is more to this story, because they also claim they were given three secrets, and those secrets pull this case into much darker territory. So, what were these supposed secrets? They were presented as a single secret in three parts, supposedly given during the July 13th apparition. The first secret is described as a terrifying vision of hell, a sea of fire meant to drive repentance. The second secret says World War I would end, but warns that a worse war would follow if people did not change their ways. It also calls for the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The third secret, published by the Vatican in 2000, is a symbolic vision, an angel with a flaming sword, a bishop dressed in white, moving through a ruined city toward a cross, and scenes of martyrdom, ending with the bishop being killed. The Vatican's commentary stresses this should be read as a symbolic call to conversion, not a literal prediction. It's important to note that while the secret is claimed in 1917, the written record comes much later. Lucia wrote down the first two parts in 1941, and the third in 1944. Let's take a look at this case from a different angle. By the time the story becomes history, Lucia is the figurehead. Her cousins die young, and Lucia is the one who lives on, enters religious life, and leaves the written accounts that shape everything that follows. She's also the eldest. In a small rural setting, that matters. Older children lead, and younger ones follow. Lucia loved teaching her cousins prayers and Bible stories. There's a natural admiration there. Illiteracy doesn't mean a lack of imagination. If anything, it can mean the imagination has more space to work, building an inner world from stories and symbols. Now, let's look at the crowd. In the months leading up to October, people followed the children to the oak tree. But here's an important detail. The crowd doesn't describe seeing a clear lady themselves. What they do describe are smaller signs, changes in light, a little cloud near the tree, unusual sounds. So fast forward to October 13th. By then, belief isn't just an idea, it's a movement. And when Lucia calls out for people to look at the sun, tens of thousands look up together. At that point, you're dealing with crowd psychology, expectation, emotion, suggestion. Think of it like this. You pay to see a legendary comedian. The room is primed to laugh. Even if the set is average, you still laugh because nobody wants to be the only person sitting there stone-faced. Now remember the context of 1917. War, grief, hunger, uncertainty. People weren't just looking for entertainment. They were looking for hope. When a crowd gathers believing a sign is coming, it's hard to be the one person who says, "I saw nothing." Even if nothing had happened in the sky that day, people wanted to see something. And it just so happens that, by sheer chance or divine intervention, an atmospheric anomaly appears to have taken place. Back in 1917, Cova da Iria was just open countryside, mud and fields. Today, it's a vast sanctuary. A chapel was built on the site by 1921, and by the mid-20th century, the complex had expanded into a major pilgrimage destination. Fatima is now a city and one of the world's most significant Catholic sites, built around the spot where 3 children said the sky came down to meet them. When the church endorsed Fatima as worthy of belief, it gave the story legitimacy. And from a skeptical angle, that legitimacy helped turn Fatima into a major spiritual center, drawing devotion, attention, and influence. Whatever you believe about what happened, one thing is clear: people were given a place to express their faith, at a time when Portugal and much of the world felt like it was living in a dark place. You've been watching The Midnight Investigator. If this interests you, please like and subscribe. We will be back for more investigations. In the meantime, question everything. Don't let someone else do your thinking. Thank you.